What is up, YouTube?
How's it all going?
Who's used YouTube tutorials for helping them with their renovation stuff yet? That's right. I've done it, you've done it, we've all done it. So I figured, why not give back to the community that's given so much? And I'm going to give you a quick rundown on the build I'm doing today, which is a horizontal slat barn door. Essentially, I'm going to have 980 for the horizontal slat board width. I'm going to have a 20mm channel rebaited, routed into each of the stiles. For the rails, they're going to be mortise and tenon. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to go through or leave it as is, so I might cut them a little bit closer to the time of doing the mortise. 10mm off the ground, 2185 tall. That means it will finish 3 centimeters above the top of my architrave. I'll have 3 centimeters all around. So when it's shut, you'll see the door, and when it's open, you'll see the architrave. And now it's time to build the horizontal slats. So I'll show you my cut station and show you what I've done. Miter saw set up a little edge stop, and if you measure the distance from here to your cut point, you can have consistent cuts. So I've used that to rip these boards to an equal distance. So the cut station, that's the first tip. Second tip is I'm building a sled. Now the sled I'm going to use to position the boards together, because they are tongue and groove. I will basically be bashing them up against this edge stop and gluing them till I've got the completed length of the inner for the board. And so here are my stiles and rails. So my plan is to route a channel through the centerpiece here that is deep enough to accept the tongue and groove of the timber that I'm going to use in the middle. So this will provide the frame and the strength, and this will provide the middle coverage. There you have it. I've got a bit of a glue up shed, get my English right. Basically this is a product of not having a large enough workbench. So the idea is I'm going to lay the slats and use this straight edge and this right angle to guide the placement all the way up, and clamp it to the underside of these green rails to hold it in position as I go. Hopefully I've got enough clamps. Now I don't have a thicknesser, so one of the problems is going to be the curvature of that stile. So what I'll do is I'll cut it, try and cut some of this curve out, like I'm doing with this piece here. Gary Katz gave a good tip around cutting, even though you got a laser and all that sort of jazz. You cut down to it and you shift your workpiece in until you get the right spot. Cut my stock down to size. Next step is either the glue up or the mortise and tenon. The only thing is I'm probably not too particularly happy with this timber. It's got a bit of a bow in it. My driveway's crooked, and since I don't have a planer, I might have to get some different stuff. That element would be maybe a center rail. Anyway, let's see how we go. All prepped, ready to glue up. Sled that I've made, I've put some plastic on it so the glue doesn't stick to the stud. And next step will be to clean off, and then a bit of metho, and then follow it up with a bit of wood glue. Yeah. So I'm gonna have a small break. Let some of that glue dry, mainly because I don't have enough clamps. It's almost dinner time. So there we go, there's the glue up done, except for the bottom bit and the top bit. The top bit and the bottom bit. I want to actually rip this down slightly because we've got about 2.5 centimeters additional that we need to cover off. Voila! So we set this in place to dry overnight. Seems I had enough clamps after all, which is awesome. And then tomorrow, rip down the edges, tap them on, and then it's mortise and tenon time. Glue up done. Next step is to measure the length. Once we've measured the length, then the bottom board and the top piece can be added. This will tell me how much I need to rip down to get the height that I'm aiming for the entryway. So the next step is to route a 2cm diameter 16mm deep dado. This is what I'll be slotting the center boards into when I do the glue up. I've allowed space at the top end for some mortise and tenon action. Hopefully I haven't mucked it up. Should be a good 2 and a bit centimeters there. Good 2 centimeters here. Gap. Just got to do that one there. Lots and lots of sawdust. And there you have it. 2 styles with dados routed. A square off the end. The other thing is I made them a bit narrower than my original plan, so I'm going to have to increase the length of my rails to compensate. Quick little test fit up. Just want to double check the distances from here to there so I know how big to make the styles. These are 60mm, 40mm tall. I'm going to leave a border of 12mm all around. I'm going to try a 36mm wide by 16 tall tenon. I'm going to send the tenon all the way through and see how that works. I'm going to do a test piece first and hopefully I won't split the wood. Okay, so we've done our mark out. So there's the tenon. This will be the long piece that I'll keep. Remove this piece here and it will slot into this test hole here. So I'm going to do the mortise first. The tenon a little bit larger. Plan it to fit. If all goes to plan, everything will work. If it doesn't, back to the drawing board. Mortise section has been routed out. I decided to upgrade to slightly larger stock for the rails. So that's 11 centimeters. Mortise is 1 3, it's 9 centimeters long, so a bigger long grain glue area. That's all good. We've got the rail here. Here's a tip I learned from Samurai Carpenter. If you drill a hole through here, then use a round over bit. Round over bit with a little brushing on the end. You can put it through this hole and clean out this area here, and you end up with a nice, neat finish there. As they'll actually come and take out some of this waste here, so it will connect through. Obviously, my rails will accept the center boards. And next thing to do after the holes there is to do the tenons. So I'll mark the tenons out next and we'll be cutting soon. Okay, so spend a fair bit of time shaping your tenons. Do a dry fit, see if it works. Next step, route this channel to accept our center boards. I decided this tenon was a bit too wonky and a bit too underspiced. So I've moved into the carving a loose tenon. So there's the loose tenon. There's the offending style, and there's the offending rail. So I'm going to put the loose tenon in there, glue it up, and glue up this. Voila. Indistinguishable. Apparently almost as strong. Alright, so there we go. Through tenon, through loose tenon is through. Much better join than what it was. Much more happy with that. And yeah, we'll glue that up and then put the door together, do it in one big hit. Then after it's all dried, trim off this excess and voila. Okay, just routing out the rails, the channels in the rails. Last step will be to route a groove underneath there. And we can do a dry assembly and then we do the glue up. And it looks like it all fits. So tomorrow, after some light sanding, I will conduct the glue up. Right, and then lots and lots and lots of sanding. Sanding and sanding and sanding, getting it all nice and smooth, ready for a glue up tonight. I've got no video of the glue up. Suffice to say, a little bit of stress, a little bit of pre-planning would have made it a little bit less stressful, but seem to have gotten there in the end. A bit of smearage, you can probably see the colours there, so I'm going to hit it with the belt sander, the orbital sander again, bring it up to maybe, I'll do maybe 120, 240, then up to 400 grit, and then wipe it all down with a tack cloth, clean it all up, and then put the first coat of Scandinavian oil. So Scandinavian oil, apparently it's a Danish oil, obviously it does that. Hopefully that will make it all look au naturel and give it that protective sheen. But so far so good, quite happy with how it's turned out. Just chopping off my loose tenon now, and I'll be going down the sides here, smoothing this out. I'll also put on the hardware, or at least drill the holes for the hardware, so I can sand around them once I've done that. Okay, so thought it went alright. We've got a little bit of focus, a little bit of glue that I'll have to just clean up, a little bit there, but the sander should take most of that off, I hope. And then we are in business for coating. One of the downsides about sanding hardwood is you tend to destroy power tools. At least I have anyway. Yeah. I think I'm going to need a new belt sander. Belt sanders, not well. Sand it all the way up to 400 grit, apply 4 coats of poly to both sides, sand it 800 then 1000, and then rub down with some brown paper, and it's all prepared. Plenty of videos on how to sand on YouTube, check it out. So you then put on your bar above your door, and hopefully don't do what we've had to do, which is add additional washers under the bar to pack it out further, because the door's impacted on the architrave. And there's the door, ready to go.